The title of this session is Enterprise Manufacturing Intelligence, Analytics and Visualization. The future is now. So this morning we had a session on the implementation and the integration. So today my focus will be on the analytics and the visualization part of EMI. So I'd like everyone to please take your seats. If you have a cell phone, if you could kind of turn it off or on vibration mode, that would be helpful. And I'm really glad to have everyone here, and I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Janice Abel, and I'm the lead analyst for the manufacturing intelligence space, as well as for the MES and some other areas of focus at ARC. My presentation is the Enterprise Manufacturing Intelligence, Analytics and Visualization, the future is now. So what I'd like to do in my presentation is to cover a little bit, put everybody on the same page, and just cover real quickly the definition of what we mean at ARC by EMI. Then I'd like to talk about the drivers and benefits that we're seeing, and also some survey results of a recent survey we did. I'll give you some preliminary results, and I'm hoping that everyone in this room can take the survey. And the part that I'm going to focus on this half of my presentation is on the analytics and visualization. And so then we're going to have some user presentations, and then all the questions will be asked during the panel session. So with that, what I'd like to do is just introduce the group of presenters and panelists and have them up here so we don't have to go back and forth. So I'd like to introduce Lunjil Binza, who is the CIO of the South African Mint. Jill. He is our first speaker after my short presentation. Then I'd like to introduce Ed Kovler, who is the lead business architect for PJM Interconnection. Then I'd like to introduce Marianne Steininger, who is the Director of Product Marketing for Operations at Schneider Electric. And then I'd like to introduce Peter Bentley, who is the Global Channel Development Manager for OSI Soft. So where does EMI fit? Well, if you look into the MES space, we have a number of functionality components that are in MES that include the planning, the scheduling, the workflow, and the process management, quality management, track and trace. EMI we consider a component within that space where it's about the data. We've been hearing a lot about the data and the volume of data, the increasing data, being able to find the data. And that's really, EMI is the heart and soul of getting the information and intelligence that people need. And the parts of EMI, just to keep everybody on the same page, it's multifaceted, and sometimes there's different components within EMI, and it's about the data integration and the aggregation, which sometimes is not that easy because you have to take the data and you have to put it into context. You model it or you map it, but you need to get it into a context that you can understand it and be able to use that data, and that's really, really important. It also has to be quality data and valid data. It also needs analytics and analysis, and there are some differing definitions I've seen on analytics. Mostly there's a divide between you talking to engineering people versus business people, but they all need analytics. And there's also the visualization and the dashboards and the reporting. So how do you see it, and how do you get that intelligence into a format that's easy to understand so that people can take that information and do something with it. And it's really about the actionable decisions that you're going to make. So EMI is not new to most people. They're doing some form of EMI, or they have been looking at data and trying to make sense of the data. Most people are collecting lots of data. But a lot of the drivers that we're seeing today is really increasing the volume of data. The Internet of Things, the big data that you're hearing about, data that people have been collecting in plants for years and years, the visualization, and they're getting much crisper and better and easier to use. The cloud computing, having open and secure platforms so that you can integrate the data and do it in a secure manner. And cloud computing is also on the rise. And some people in some plants aren't doing cloud computing, but others are putting a lot of information into the cloud. And I can show you some data that we're seeing. In the MES space, we are starting to see an uptick, and we expect that to grow. Some people said they have to have safety and operations data. Mission critical data is always going to be on the plant floor. Other people have said different things, but there are some people putting historical data, age data. Other people are worried about IP latency issues and also security issues. So as those issues get resolved and people feel more comfortable, I do think it will increase in the future. So we talked about the integration, the interoperability in EMI. We're going to talk today, we'll focus on the visualization, the analytics. And also the one thing that we are seeing is that the tools are much easier to use. You don't have to be a data scientist to use it. And also there's a lot of new technology, there's a lot more information today than we ever had before. New smart connected devices, that's what we're seeing. So anyway, this is my survey. These are a few preliminary results. This is just meant to be a short, quick presentation to frame what we're seeing in the EMI space. So I'm going to show you a couple of results of this preliminary survey. But to get a chance, take the survey, email me. It's for end users, and I'm hoping to get a really good feel for what best practices are right now. So this part, we asked what the top drivers are for using EMI. The number one top driver was improving process visibility. Number 2 was faster decision making, and number 3 was getting value from the data that's already collected. So one of the things when I'm talking to people, I was talking to this plant manager, and he's talking about looking at different spreadsheets. I said, well, how many spreadsheets do you look at a day? And I was thinking like 10. He says, no, I look at hundreds. And the thing is, you can't, unless you've really grown up with that technology and you know what you're looking for in the data, it's like seeking, for someone coming in that's new and you have the new generation of workers, it would be like seeking like a needle in a haystack. And really what people want is they want to have that information in a form that they can see it easily. And I think you're going to see in some of these presentations that we have today that they are starting to do this and making sense of the data into a format that you can easily and quickly understand what's going on. So the visualization, some of the things that are important are that it's accessible to people within that need to have that information at the right time. It's simple, crisp, and clear. The data is in a contextualized format that you can actually, you know what to do with the data, you know it makes sense what the data is, it's not just arbitrary data, and that it's easy to implement and deploy. So, you're looking at a dashboard, and when my daughter was learning to drive, I would say you have to anticipate what someone's doing. You have to look for what's in the blind spot. Is there a cop behind me? Am I driving this way? And that's like the context of what's going on. Is that person weaving because they're on their cell phone, or are they drunk? I call them weavers. and those are the kind of things that you always have to be aware of. And that's, to me, that gives a situation, and you might want to be aware of where your location, where are you at the time, in the context you're in. You need to have that awareness in a plant, too. And so it's very, very important that you're aware of your surroundings. And people are talking about situation awareness all the time today. And the thing is, the visualization that you have will drive the performance in the plant. So the other thing we're seeing is a lot, the analytics and dashboards, some of the things that we're seeing is that they're much more accessible, they're actionable, things that that the person gets the right information, the right person has the right type of dashboard, that they have that information at their fingertips. We are starting to see, and we have seen for years in some systems, doing predictive controls, predicting what will happen, coming up and telling somebody, this is what might happen. We're even seeing prescriptive, where it actually tells you the impact of what a decision might be. So we're starting to see more of that, and I expect in the future we'll see even more as we move towards more of an autonomous environment. But we still need people, and we still need someone to, as we were talking about this morning, you need someone that's going to have the information that they can input into the Watson or the computer. So analytics and the dashboards, I think, are part of the tools that make up and enable EMI. So one of the questions we asked was, well, what type of views and analytics are you using? And you can see that, and there was some more too, but these are the ones that the one thing that struck me was that people are using predictive, they are starting to use prescriptive, and they are using some geospatial, which I thought was quite interesting because we're going to see an example of that this morning. So some of the analytic capabilities, we also asked about that. The most widely used is OEE, SPC, and root cause analysis. So really, folks, the future really is now. You know, when you think about it, we got the Google car that everybody's been reading about. And so you think about, imagine you're driving along in your little Google car in the future. So now you're on the road, you're watching and you're looking out, and all of a sudden, on the road, out of nowhere, you see a blip of fur and a little reindeer appears. Or it could be a big deer. Then at the same moment, exactly at the same moment, you see the dog. So now, what do? You're in an autonomous car, you're in an autonomous operation, you have to think about the dog or the deer. And you have to make that choice. And this came out of a conversation with my friend Rick Riss, who was sitting in the back. But anyway, you have to make a choice when you're doing autonomous operation. And I think he kind of alluded to this morning, the guy from MIT. And is it the dog or the deer? And you're going to have to make that choice in a factory. And it might involve people. Do you go with the lowest risk? Do you go with the thing that's going to have the least impact? Or, the dog could be your family pet. The person in the plant could be related to you. It could be a really young person. It could be an old person. You might have to make that choice. So all of those things are going to have to be thought about in the future when you go into an autonomous world. And there are some factories that are being run today completely what they call lights out factory, just by robots. So it's really about making the right decision. But in this case, it's really hard to figure out what is the right decision. Is it the dog or the deer? And I bet if I asked that question, it'd be some people would be on the deer side and some people would be on the dog side. So dog or the deer? So that's my note about what's happening in terms of autonomous, and all those things are going to have to be put into the computer. But we also have a mobile generation, too, that's coming along in the workforce. And these are things that are happening today. And they have a new generation, we call them the tech-savvy millennials. And they are tech-savvy, and they do want to be able to get the information on their modular devices. So a lot of people think, well, if it's not mobile, it's not working correctly. And we are seeing more people accessing the information from their mobile devices. Some of them are not able to actionable, or they're blocked off, and in some cases are actionable. So that's kind of what we are seeing. So the other thing is, as far as the future is now, we're seeing all kinds of little robots coming out and all kinds of information coming from other sources. And you can see that these are drones, the three of them. The most interesting one is the ant. And that's it actually works like an ant, where it coordinates activities with other ants. And they're about 6 inches long. They have a little camera in their stomach so they can see their location. And so that they give information to the computer so it coordinates activities in a robotic type manner. So all of these, and there's little butterfly drones that are like little spy drones, but all of these have information, and some of them are inspecting plants and other applications. So I think that in the future, you're going to see a lot of more innovative products. You're going to have to be able to adapt flexibly to these. You're going to have more information, and you have to change your manufacturing practices to adapt to the customer experience. And the example that somebody was given is look to nature for your new product innovations, because one of the things that I did see was a fuselage was being designed around the physical properties of a duck's neck. So it is also very, very important, and it's really actually key, to look at your KPIs, because metrics are driven, and because people are driven by their metrics. Metrics drive both good and bad behavior. Good metrics can help you optimize the process, and they must align with the business value, and the culture is so important, because if you don't have the culture and an environment that aligns with the metrics, it's not going to work. So just remember that those are really important, and you should readjust them periodically. So the dashboard should reflect the metrics. And the other thing that we are seeing is we are seeing a lot of people getting a lot of value and a lot of benefits out of EMI. And these are just some examples. This is from the survey, and this is what people said that they're getting in these areas. We had some other areas too. I just grabbed 4 of them. And they said they're getting somewhere between 5 to 15%. Some people said as much as 30 in improved productivity and efficiencies. They said they're getting between 5 to 15% in energy. And they said that they're getting in the quality area between 5 to 10%, and the asset management between 5 to 15%. So, and as things get more and more efficient, they'll probably get less, I would think. If you have no downtime, you're not going to get any benefits. So anyway, thank you very much. That's just kind of my top-line presentation that kind of frames EMI. And really, it's about the visualization, the analytics, and getting that real-time insight to do actionable decisions, and making sure those decisions will optimize results for the return on investment.